Hi Dusty Buddies, my name is Tess, and today I'm going to talk to you about my experience mountain biking through the second trimester of pregnancy. If you haven't seen my video about riding through the first trimester of pregnancy and you're interested in seeing that, I'll make sure I link that video. But if you're ready for the second trimester, here we go. Now, every woman is different, every pregnancy is different, so I can't promise that your experience is going to be just like mine, but I do want to share some of the things that I experienced and some things that helped me through that second trimester while riding. So at the beginning of my second trimester, we were in California, in Santa Cruz, doing Sea Otter, doing the Bay Area, and that's when I started noticing that a lot of the nausea was slowly lifting. Every day it got a little bit better. Now, I didn't have nausea as bad as some women get it, but any nausea just really stinks, so I was pretty happy about that. I also noticed a return of more of my energy, which was really nice, and especially during those early weeks of the second trimester, I was able to regain at least some of the fitness that I had lost during the first trimester when I was just sick and tired a lot of the time. Now, even though I was starting to feel myself get some of that energy back, it still wasn't quite like pre-pregnancy, and the further that I got into the second trimester, the more I started to realize symptoms from an aspect of pregnancy that I had never heard of before I became pregnant, and that is increased blood volume. So it makes total sense, but yeah, you're supplying nutrients and oxygen to another human being, so over the course of your pregnancy, your blood supply increases until in the third trimester, it's like 40-something%. It's just under 50%. So that's quite an increase. In the second trimester, you know, the increase isn't quite that noticeable, but it's noticeable enough that a lot of women do start to experience some symptoms and side effects from that increased blood volume. So, you know, with your heart and lungs working harder, that is going to make you get out of breath sooner, potentially. At least it did in my case. And it was just tiring. So when we bike packed the San Francisco Peninsula toward like the beginning-ish of my second trimester, I hit that wall at about 30 miles in with quite a bit of elevation climbed on the second day, and I kind of had a little bit of a meltdown.
I don't think I've ever cried on a ride before, but I'm so spent.
You know, I made it and it was fine, but I was just like more tired than I'd ever been, and so we kind of slowly dialed it in and dialed it in. When we got to Oak Ridge in Oregon, when I was closer to the middle of the second trimester, we did a 25-mile ride, which was ATCA, and it's mostly downhill, but there is still like 3,500 feet of climbing or something like that. So after that 25-mile ride, you know, now that I was a little bit further along in my pregnancy, that's kind of when I hit my wall. And if you watch that video, I literally stumble off of my bike at the end of that ride. So a few things that helped me adjust to this was just paying more attention to the elevation profiles and choosing less strenuous rides. Also, just like I said, cutting back my miles slowly. I'd say by about week 20, like a 12-mile ride, you know, depending on the elevation profile, you know, a 12-mile ride was about the limit for me at that point. And then that's something that, you know, as time's gone on, I've just had to constantly adjust to. The last thing that I did that was actually really kind of fun to geek out on was I started wearing a heart rate monitor. If you're pregnant, I highly recommend that you talk to your healthcare professional about what they want your heart range to be in. Every woman is different. They used to kind of have like a blanket, oh, we want you to keep your heart rate under blah blah blah, but now they are saying that it kind of needs to be done on more of an individual basis. Like some women, you know, based on their fitness level, they'll keep you a little bit lower. If your fitness level is a little bit higher, they might be okay with you getting a little bit higher. So definitely talk to, you know, your doctor or midwife or whatever about this. I'm not a healthcare professional, and so I don't want to advise you about a healthy heart range. But I have this Wahoo Element bike computer already, and I got the clicker heart rate monitor that talks to it. So you just clip it around your chest, like right under your bra strap, and it will monitor your heart rate. And that was really good for me to see because I found that my heart rate could get up in that range that that it wasn't supposed to be in quicker than I thought. And I felt like I could keep pushing it, but, you know, wanting to make sure that me and my baby were both getting enough oxygen, you know, like that was like pretty important to me. So this was good because it just kept me aware and it kept me accountable. It made me stop for breaks that I felt like I don't need a break, but it was like, you know, for reals, girl, like we gotta, you know, stop and recover. I mean, the good news is because I came into pregnancy in pretty good shape, my heart recovers quickly. So, you know, it's not too big of a deal. It's usually stop and taking a few breaths and then I can keep going. It's definitely not a must, but I have found this to be a very helpful tool for me during pregnancy. And I'm gonna have fun geeking out on this, I think, too, post-pregnancy, getting back in shape. Another symptom that I started to experience in the second trimester was increased thirst. I was just so thirsty for cold, fresh water. And so even though my rides were getting shorter, I was still carrying quite a bit of water and going through it. So you might notice yourself getting real thirsty as you get further into pregnancy, and just make sure you plan for it. Another thing that I had to adjust to as I got into the second trimester was my growing waistline. Yeah, it was slowly growing out of all of my mountain biking apparel. Now, one thing that was a priority for me was, you know, keeping this economical. I didn't want to go out and spend money on a bunch of jerseys and shorts that were upsized, but that I wouldn't be able to wear very long after the pregnancy. So I tried to get creative and find other ways that I could do it without having to buy a ton of new things just to get through the pregnancy. So I'm just gonna kind of go through some of the things that I've used that have worked for me, tell you some other things that I've heard other women say. So one thing that is a pretty high priority for me, even while being pregnant, is a good chamois. My tushy is a little more sensitive than normal even since I've been pregnant, and so wearing a chamois was staying a high priority. Now, unfortunately, most of my chamois have that really thick, tight underwear type elastic around the waist, and so as my waistline would grow, they would just dig into my sides, and it was just agony. But I did have this one Zoic essential liner, and this, even before I was pregnant, this was my favorite chamois. It is so comfortable. The waist is designed more like a yoga top, where it does have a little bit of elastic that will keep your pants up here at the top, but it's not super snug, and it kind of has like just like a panel of fabric that is also part of that elastic system, which you know, it helps it stay in place without having to be insanely tight. As I've outgrown all of my other chamois, I have continued to wear this. It's possible I'm stretching it out a little bit, but I'm not really worried. I think it will probably be okay. And even if I have to get a new one of these after the pregnancy, like these are like $35, which I feel like is a pretty dang good price. So whether you're pregnant or not, this is my favoriteest chamois in the entire world. So this thing is awesome. Now, I did a little bit of research online, seeing what other women had done through their mountain biking pregnancy, and you know, a couple women I had heard, they wear their husband's bibs when they're pregnant. Because even if they're a little bit oversized in that second trimester, you've got the shoulder straps to keep it up, which is a really good idea. Steve doesn't wear bibs with the shoulder straps, so that wasn't really going to work, but I've been okay because I have this awesome Zoic chamois. As far as jerseys go, I've mostly just worn a bunch of Steve's t-shirts and some of his jerseys, and that's been totally fine for me. The sleeves are like super long on me when I wear like the long sleeve jerseys and stuff like that, but I don't really care. It works. It's been comfortable enough, and yeah, it saved me a ton of money. Now, I could have just gone with the chamois and just worn just that, but I'm not that brave. I really wanted some kind of baggies to put over the top. And I tried a few different things. I tried wearing some running tights, I tried wearing some basketball shorts, and the basketball shorts kind of get stuck on the seat, and like the running tights, it was just too hot because it's been summer, like the seasons were just off. So that wasn't really working for me. So eventually what I found that worked really well for me was just this cheap pair of hiking shorts They're nothing fancy, but they have a stretchy waistband, so it's been able to keep growing with me, which has been awesome. Now, in some of the research that I did online, a lot of women said that they were able to wear their husband's baggies for their outer shorts, and that really wasn't gonna work for me. Like, I hate wearing men's shorts. There's one dimension in particular that is very different on men's apparel versus women's apparel, and that is the crotch depth, which is the measurement from the top of the waistline to where the legs of the shorts come together. And men's apparel tends to have a lot more wearing ease, which means they build a lot more extra space in there, which totally makes sense. You know, guys have some extra things on the outside there, so it makes total sense. But as a woman, I'm just not used to having that much wearing ease in my shorts, and so anytime I've tried to wear guys' shorts, like, it's just too much. And I think on a bike they would be getting stuck on my seat all the time, and it would probably just drive me bananas. So yeah, so that wasn't gonna work for me. Just the cheap hiking shorts with stretchy waists, uncool as they look, that's been perfect for me. So the last piece of apparel that I had to replace as I was growing was my bras, because from the first trimester, like, I started outgrowing my bras, and the girls just kept growing and growing and growing, and I was like, I need to get bras, but like, there's no end in sight. Like, I don't know what size bra to get. Well, thankfully by about week 18 it kind of leveled off, and so I finally went out and got some new bras. I ended up deciding to get some nursing sports bras. The logic for me being that, you know, they say when your milk first comes in, after the baby comes, your boobs will get a little bit bigger for a little while, but then they will kind of go down to about what they were for, you know, most of your pregnancy. So yeah, I just figured hopefully it will save me buying more bras after the baby comes. So I just got a couple of these sports bras from Motherhood. They're nothing fancy. They don't strike me as particularly durable, so I don't know if these are the kind of thing that's gonna last for a really long time, but I do feel like it'll at least get me through the pregnancy and probably through nursing, and then I can deal with it then. I didn't have high expectations for these because they're actually pretty cheap for bras at Motherhood, but they have been really comfortable and they've done a great job. So yeah, something to consider. Another thing that started to happen as I've gotten further and further into the second trimester was that you know, I noticed my riding was impacting the people that I was with more and more. And you know, a lot of people that I ride with are friends and they totally don't care, but I tried to be pretty straight up with people going in and just saying, hey, do you want to go riding this Friday? I can't go really fast, so it'll be a nice leisurely pace, but we would love to ride with you. So kind of giving people a heads up, and also, you know, choosing companions wisely, choosing people that I knew would be okay with, you know, going a little bit slower with me. I've also not wanted Steve to have to lose all of his fitness just because I can't hang, and so Steve has done more and more riding alone, which has been an adjustment. But one thing that's been cool and that I highly recommend doing if you start to experience this is, if you're like me and you have some friends who are maybe newer riders, or they're just more on the cautious side, and you have a hard time getting them to go with you because they're like, oh, I don't want to hold you back. Well, this is a perfect time, because it's like, hey, I'm not going fast anyway. So it's been really cool because you know, toward the end of my second trimester, I have been able to ride with some of my friends that I wanted to ride with and help them get more stoked, and you know, work with them on some skills and things like that. So it's been a really fun time for that. You know, work with some of your friends who are newer riders, and you know, hopefully the fact that you are starting to get big and pregnant like makes it less intimidating for them, and it's fun because you still get to be out on your bike. So that's something that has made the fact that I've had to slow down really fun, is yeah, just kind of adjusting who I ride with and kind of changing my strategy with that. But it's something to consider. You know, just be mindful of who you're riding with, and you know, expectation management. The last thing that I wanted to talk about with regards to the second trimester is the growing need for caution as my belly has grown. You know, toward the beginning of this trimester, I wasn't showing at all, and you know, I'd still hit little drops and little jumps. You know, it was clear to me even at that point that this is not a time to be progressing your skills on like big features and like hitting bigger and bigger stuff. You know, I was actually slowly dialing it in, you know, like hitting smaller and smaller drops and smaller jumps. I mean, definitely, you know, later in the second trimester, it was pretty much both wheels on the ground, you know. Kind of in relationship to this, as I've gotten heavier, I realized that I roll downhill quicker. Like, I remember the first time I noticed it, once I was up enough pounds to be like, I was like, whoa, like my hub feels so good today. What is going on? It's spinning so well. Like, I just go downhill and pick up momentum. Like, and then I was like, oh wait, like I put on 15 pounds. Of course I'm gonna go downhill quicker. So, you know, for me, because my balance has been good, I've had to stay super aware and just remind myself to, you know, slow it down and take it easy. There's no need to push it. Just enjoy a leisurely pace on the bike, both up and downhill. Now, if you're a female mountain biker and you are pregnant, just be prepared, because you're gonna have people that are gonna judge you for being overly cautious. You're gonna have people who are gonna judge you for not being cautious enough. My best advice is just to talk to your healthcare provider, talk to your spouse or partner, know your limits, know what it means to stay well within them, and make the right decision for you, for, you know, how to make sure that you protect you and your baby through this MTB pregnancy. Be careful, have fun, get dusty.
So I just want to let you guys know that I'm trying to hit the 20,000 subscriber mark on my YouTube channel by the end of the year. So if you haven't already subscribed, I hope that you'll consider it. Also, like my videos. That helps them come up as recommended so that other people can find my videos more easily. You can also support me on Patreon or consider buying a Dusty Betty t-shirt. Thanks so much for watching. You guys are awesome. Get dusty.